This is the informed consent document that the Unity Health Research Ethics Board requires that I begin each video with. I won't read the document, but you can pause the video to read it at your convenience. It's 3 pages long. Here's the second page of the informed consent. Feel free to pause the video to read it. This is the third page. Again, feel free to pause the video to read it. If you agree to participate in this research, please continue. If you don't agree, please feel free to leave the video at this point. Thank you for agreeing to participate in this research. My name is Jeff Braff, and I'm a chaplain at St. Michael's Hospital. Although I'm an ordained Buddhist monk, I provide spiritual and emotional care and support to persons of all faith traditions, or none. This video was developed as part of a research study investigating how practices based on Buddhist teachings can help frontline hospital staff effectively deal with the stresses and challenges of hospital work. At the end of the video, I'll ask you to voluntarily complete an anonymous survey. This is the first of 3 short video presentations. In this video, we'll explore both the Western and Buddhist concepts of suffering, examine the ideas of 3 Western philosophers about suffering, and provide an overview of the philosophy that the Buddha taught to overcome suffering. After you view the video and complete an anonymous survey about your reactions to it, I'll provide you with the information you'll need to view the second and third videos. The second video looks at how to practice mindfulness meditation, and the third on how to meditate on compassion and self-compassion. This video runs about 30 minutes. Okay, let's get started. The first question that one might naturally ask is, what is suffering? This is a question perhaps better answered by philosophers than by physicians. Suffering is a complex and broad concept that encompasses a range of physical, emotional, and existential distress that people experience. In various philosophical, religious, and psychological traditions, suffering is often understood as a fundamental aspect of the human condition. In a general sense, suffering can be defined as any form of pain, discomfort, distress, or dissatisfaction that arises from physical, psychological, or existential sources. It can manifest in different forms, including physical pain, illness, loss, grief, anxiety, depression, and existential angst. Suffering can be caused by a variety of factors: physical causes, such as injury, illness, disease, or physical trauma; psychological causes, such as emotional distress, emotional trauma, anxiety, depression, or mental illness; social and environmental causes, such as poverty, injustice, discrimination, violence, or environmental degradation; and existential causes, such as feelings of meaninglessness, alienation, or spiritual crisis. In addition to the experience of individual suffering, there is also the concept of collective suffering, which refers to the shared experiences of pain, hardship, and injustice endured by groups, communities, or societies. What frontline hospital staff experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic is a good example of both individual and collective suffering. While most everyone sees suffering as inherently negative and undesirable, some believe that suffering can also serve as a catalyst for personal growth, transformation, and spiritual development. The philosophical and religious traditions of the East and West, Buddhism and Christianity in particular, teach that suffering can be a source of wisdom, compassion, and insight when approached with mindfulness, acceptance, and resilience. Ultimately, though, the nature and experience of suffering is something deeply subjective and complex, and you may respond to suffering in different ways compared to others depending on your own cultural, religious, and personal beliefs and values. Let's explore the concept of suffering from both Western and Eastern traditions. The Western concept of suffering has been deeply influenced by philosophical, religious, and cultural traditions throughout history. For example, the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle argued that suffering was an inherent aspect of life. In Christianity, there's an emphasis on the redemptive power of suffering and a belief that suffering can have a role in one's salvation. In the modern West, the existentialist philosophers of the 20th century, people like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, grappled with the absurdity of human existence in a seemingly indifferent universe. Sartre famously suggested that individuals are responsible for creating meaning in a world devoid of inherent purpose. Camus, meanwhile, explored the idea of the absurd hero who defiantly confronts the meaninglessness of existence through acts of rebellion and defiance, even in the face of inevitable suffering. Three other 20th century Western philosophers had much to say about suffering. Simone Weil, who lived from 1909 to 1943, was a French philosopher, mystic, and political activist, known for her profound reflections on the nature of suffering, justice, and compassion. Born into a secular Jewish family, Weil was deeply influenced by her exposure to various philosophical and religious traditions, including Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism. Throughout her life, she engaged with a wide range of social and political issues, including labor rights, poverty, and the rise of totalitarianism in Europe. Weil's approach to the concept of suffering was deeply influenced by her own experiences and observations of the world around her. She rejected traditional religious explanations that sought to justify suffering as a means of divine punishment or as a test of faith. Rather, Weil saw suffering as an inherent aspect of the human condition, intimately connected to the existence of injustice and the flawed nature of human society. Central to her understanding of suffering was her concept of affliction, which she distinguished from mere physical pain. Weil saw affliction as a form of spiritual suffering deeply intertwined with the human experience of injustice, oppression, and alienation. Unlike mere physical pain, Weil viewed affliction as a profound existential condition that transcended individual suffering to encompass the collective suffering and anguish of humanity. Weil believed that true compassion required individuals to enter into solidarity with those who suffer from affliction, actively seeking to alleviate their pain and address the underlying causes of their suffering. Weil's understanding of affliction was deeply influenced by her observations of the world around her, including her experience working in factories and participating in social and political activism. She saw firsthand the ways in which systemic injustices such as poverty, exploitation, and oppression inflicted profound spiritual and psychological suffering on individuals and communities. Overall, her approach to the concept of affliction was characterized by a profound sense of empathy, moral urgency, and a commitment to social justice. Her insights continue to resonate with those grappling with the complexities of human suffering and the quest for meaning and redemption. Weil also explored the transformative potential of affliction, suggesting that it could serve as a catalyst for moral and spiritual growth. In her writings, she emphasized the importance of embracing suffering with an attitude of acceptance and humility, allowing it to open the individual to a deeper understanding of themselves and the world. What then exactly is transformative suffering? Transformative suffering refers to the notion that enduring hardship, pain, or adversity can lead to a profound personal growth, positive change, or a shift in perspective. It suggests that through the experience of suffering, individuals have the potential to undergo significant transformations in their attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors. The concept of transformative suffering encompasses several key ideas. Enduring suffering can foster resilience, the ability to bounce back from challenges and setbacks. Through facing and overcoming adversity, individuals can develop inner strength and the capacity to navigate future difficulties with greater ease. Suffering can catalyze personal growth by prompting you to reflect deeply on your experiences, values, and priorities. It may lead you to insights about yourself, your relationships, and the world, fostering greater self-awareness and emotional maturity. Experiencing suffering firsthand can cultivate empathy and compassion for others who are also going through difficult times. It can deepen your understanding of the struggles faced by others and inspire a desire to alleviate their pain and support them in their journey. For some people, suffering can spark a profound spiritual awakening or deepen spiritual practice. It may prompt existential questions about the nature of existence, the meaning of life, and your relationship to the divine or the transcendent, if you hold that belief. Transformative suffering can also fuel a commitment to social justice and collective action. Individuals who have experienced injustice or oppression may become advocates for change, working to address systemic issues and creating a more equitable society. While transformative suffering can lead to positive outcomes for some, it's essential to recognize that not all suffering results in growth or transformation. The extent to which suffering is transformative depends on various factors, including individual resilience, social support, and the meaning attributed to the experience. It's crucial to acknowledge that not all suffering is necessary or justified, and efforts to alleviate unnecessary pain and prevent future harm are essential. Simone Weil herself emphasized the contrast between transformative or meaningful suffering and the deeply debilitating, destructive suffering of affliction. The contrast between transformative suffering and affliction is further deepened and illustrated by Dorothy Zola, who lived from 1929 to 2003. Zola was a prominent German theologian, writer, and political activist, known for her profound contributions to liberation theology, feminist theology, and the theology of suffering. Her work was deeply rooted in her Christian faith, yet she was also critical of institutionalized religion, advocating for a more socially engaged and politically conscious approach to theology. In addressing the concept of suffering, Zola drew from both her theological insights and her experiences as a deeply engaged activist with the social and political struggles of her time. She rejected traditional theological explanations that justified suffering as a means of divine punishment or redemption, and instead she emphasized the importance of solidarity with those who suffer and the necessity of actively working to alleviate their pain. Zola's theology of suffering emphasized the interconnectedness of the human experiences of pain and oppression, recognizing that individual suffering is often intertwined with systemic injustice. She argued that true empathy and compassion require not only acknowledging the suffering of others, but also actively working to dismantle the structures that perpetuate it. Importantly, she challenged the notion that suffering should be passively accepted or embraced as a means of spiritual growth. She believed that true Christian discipleship entailed a commitment to challenging and resisting the forces of injustice and oppression that caused suffering in the first place. Finally, there's Viktor Frankl, who lived from 1905 to 1997. He was an Austrian neurologist, psychiatrist, Holocaust survivor, and existential psychologist who is best known for his development of logotherapy and his influential book, Man's Search for Meaning. Frankl's life experiences, including his time spent in Nazi concentration camps, deeply influenced his understanding of human psychology and the search for meaning in life. Logotherapy, the school of psychotherapy that he developed, is based on the premise that finding meaning in life is essential for psychological well-being and resilience. The term logotherapy is derived from the Greek word logos, which can be translated as meaning or reason, and reflects Frankl's emphasis on the importance of meaning in human existence. Central to logotherapy is the idea that individuals have a fundamental need to find purpose and significance in their lives, and that this search for meaning is a primary motivating force. Unlike other forms of therapy that focus on symptom reduction or introspection, logotherapy aims to help individuals uncover and pursue their unique sense of meaning and purpose. One key aspect of logotherapy is the emphasis on responsibility and freedom of choice. Frankl believed that even in the most challenging of circumstances, you can retain the freedom to choose your attitudes and responses to life's challenges. By taking responsibility for your choices and actions, you can cultivate a sense of meaning and agency in your life, and that even in the face of suffering, you can find meaning by drawing on your inner resources, values, and beliefs. Frankl's concept of meaning-making revolves around the idea that finding meaning and purpose is essential for psychological well-being and resilience, regardless of the circumstances in which you find yourself. He believed that humans are driven by a will to meaning, a fundamental need to find significance and purpose in our lives. He emphasized three main ways in which you can discover meaning. Frankl believed that engaging in meaningful work, creative endeavors, or acts of service can provide you with a sense of purpose and fulfillment. By contributing to something larger than yourself, you can find meaning even in the midst of suffering. Frankl emphasized the importance of love, connection, and relationships in the search for meaning. Genuine human connections and acts of love and kindness can provide you with a sense of belonging and purpose. According to Frankl, you can find meaning by adopting a positive attitude towards suffering and adversity. By reframing your experiences and finding meaning in your struggles, you can transcend your circumstances and cultivate resilience. Frankl's concept of meaning-making has had a profound effect on psychology, existential therapy, and the broader understanding of human resilience and well-being. His teachings continue to inspire individuals to find purpose and meaning in their lives, even in the face of adversity. Now, let's turn to the Buddhist concept of suffering. The Buddha, also known as Siddhartha Gautama, was a spiritual teacher. He was born in Lumbini in present-day Nepal, around the 6th century before the Common Era. According to traditional accounts, Siddhartha was a princeling, born into a royal family, and lived a life of cloistered luxury and privilege. However, he became disillusioned with the world of material wealth after being exposed to sickness, old age, and death, and began a spiritual quest to understand the true nature of human suffering. At the age of 29, Siddhartha left his palace and embarked on a journey of self-discovery. He practiced various forms of asceticism and meditation under different teachers, but ultimately found them to be insufficient in addressing the fundamental questions of existence. After 6 years of searching, Siddhartha finally attained enlightenment, which is an understanding of the true nature of reality, while meditating under a Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya in India. Following his enlightenment, Siddhartha became known as the Buddha, which means the awakened one or the enlightened one. Although the Buddha was a human being the same as you or I, Buddhists believe that what was unique about him was that because he was enlightened, he found a way to liberate beings from the endless cycle of suffering that marks existence, and taught this way to his followers. The essence of these teachings, common to all Buddhist schools of belief, is the Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth is that there is suffering. This suffering encompasses not only physical and mental pain, but also the broader sense of dissatisfaction, unsatisfactoriness, and impermanence inherent in all aspects of life. Importantly, the Buddha explained suffering in the context of the impermanent nature of all phenomena, so that even pleasant experiences result in suffering because they are transitory. Even as we feel delight in feeling well, we're aware of the fragility of such a feeling. Birth, aging, illness, death, separation from loved ones, and emotional distress are all examples of suffering. The second noble truth is that the causes of suffering are attachment, hatred, and ignorance, which perpetuate the cycle of suffering. The third noble truth is that there is a way out of this suffering, that by overcoming attachment, hatred, and ignorance, we can attain liberation from suffering and experience a state of profound peace and contentment. And the fourth noble truth is that the way out of this suffering is the Noble Eightfold Path, which consists of 8 practices: right view, right resolve, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. In early Buddhism, these practices started with the understanding that the body and mind work in imperfect ways, and that entering the Buddhist path of self-observance, self-restraint, and cultivation of kindness and compassion, culminating in the training of the mind, commonly translated as meditation, as well as ensuring that the mind does not instinctively respond to sense impressions, can lead to a state of perfect equanimity and awareness. In other words, enlightenment. The Buddha also taught that his followers must strive for wisdom and compassion as a way to live their lives. Wisdom not in terms of general knowledge, but wisdom regarding the non-reality of conventional existence, what in the West is sometimes referred to as the understanding of the true nature of phenomena, emptiness, or no self, or dependent arising, which really means the interconnectedness of all beings. Whatever you or I do as a person affects everyone else, in the same way that any part of a web is connected to all its other parts. Stephen Batchelor, a Buddhist philosopher, scholar, and teacher, and former Tibetan Buddhist monk, considers Buddhism to be a constantly evolving culture of awakening, which he refers to as secular Buddhism, a very Western concept, rather than a religious system based on immutable dogmas and beliefs. Importantly, he reformulated the Four Noble Truths to 4 tasks to better meet the needs of the modern world. Those tasks are to embrace suffering, to let go of reactivity, to behold the ceasing of reactivity, and to cultivate an integrated way of life. It might be helpful for us to consider the Four Noble Truths in this contemporary light. So, while the Four Noble Truths is a fundamental teaching of Buddhism, their principles can be applied by people of any faith or philosophical background to navigate life's challenges and cultivate greater well-being and contentment. Here's how you can employ them in your daily life, yet another contemporary interpretation. Recognition of suffering. We can benefit from acknowledging the reality of suffering in life and in the world. This involves recognizing that challenges, difficulties, and dissatisfaction are natural aspects of the human experience. By acknowledging suffering without denial or avoidance, we can develop greater resilience and acceptance in the face of adversity. Understanding the causes of suffering. While the causes of suffering may differ according to individual beliefs, we can reflect on the role of attachment. For example, I really want that new car. Of hatred. For example, I hate that he has that car and I don't. And ignorance. For example, if I had that car, I'd be happy. In perpetuating a feeling of unhappiness. By examining the root causes of suffering, we can identify patterns of behavior or thought that contribute to a feeling of dissatisfaction and work towards letting go of unhelpful attachments or habits. Exploring paths to alleviate suffering. The third noble truth teaches that suffering can be alleviated. We can explore various paths and practices such as mindfulness, self-compassion, gratitude, and ethical living that promote a life of well-being and contentment. By cultivating positive mental states and engaging in actions that promote harmony and connection, we can reduce the intensity of suffering and experience greater inner peace. Embracing practices for transformation. The fourth noble truth outlines the Eightfold Path, which I mentioned earlier. We can adapt these principles by cultivating qualities such as wisdom, ethical conduct, mindfulness, and compassion. By integrating these practices into the daily routines of life, we can promote personal growth, cultivate positive relationships, and contribute to the well-being of others. So even though the Four Noble Truths have their roots in Buddhism, the universal principles they offer can provide valuable insights and guidance for any person seeking to navigate life's challenges, cultivate inner peace, and live with greater wisdom and compassion, regardless of their religious or spiritual beliefs. Additionally, the Four Immeasurables, also known as the Four Divine Abodes, are a set of virtues or attitudes taught in Buddhism that cultivate benevolent and compassionate states of mind. They're called immeasurable because they represent qualities that are believed to be boundless in their extent. These are the Four Immeasurables. Loving kindness, the practice of unconditional love and goodwill toward all beings, regardless of their relationship to yourself. It involves wishing for the well-being, happiness, and safety of others without discrimination or attachment. Loving kindness fosters a sense of warmth, kindness, and connection with all living beings. You can practice loving kindness by cultivating an attitude of kindness and compassion in interactions with family, friends, colleagues, and strangers, by engaging in acts of generosity and kindness, whether through small gestures or large acts of service, and by offering supportive words and encouragement to those who are struggling or in need. Compassion is the empathetic desire to alleviate the suffering of others. It involves recognizing the pain and difficulties experienced by others and responding with care, empathy, and a genuine desire to help. It cultivates a compassionate heart that seeks to alleviate the suffering of all beings. This is the essence of who we are as healthcare professionals. We can practice compassion by listening empathetically to others without judgment, offering a compassionate presence and understanding, by volunteering or contributing to charitable causes that support marginalized or suffering peoples, by engaging in compassionate action, by helping those in need or advocating for social justice and equality, by cultivating forgiveness and empathy towards yourself and others, recognizing the shared humanity of all beings. Empathetic joy is the practice of rejoicing in the happiness and successes of others. It involves feeling genuine happiness and joy when witnessing the well-being, accomplishment, and good fortune of others. It fosters a sense of interconnectedness and mutual celebration rather than envy or jealousy. You can practice empathetic joy by celebrating the successes, achievements, and happiness of others with genuine joy and appreciation, by cultivating gratitude for the blessings and positive experiences in your own life, no matter how small, by sharing in the joys and accomplishments of friends, family, and colleagues, offering encouragement and support, and by practicing letting go of envy or comparison, recognizing that there's enough happiness and success to go around for everybody. Equanimity is the practice of cultivating balance and impartiality in the face of changing circumstances. It involves maintaining a calm and steady mind in response to both pleasant and unpleasant experiences, without being swayed by attachment or aversion. Equanimity fosters inner peace and stability, allowing you to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience. You can practice equanimity by cultivating mindfulness and present moment awareness to remain balanced and steady in the face of life's ups and downs, by accepting the inevitability of change and uncertainty with a sense of calm and inner peace, by practicing non-reactivity and non-attachment to outcomes, allowing experiences to arise and pass without clinging or aversion, and by approaching difficult situations or conflicts with a sense of equanimity, seeking to respond skillfully rather than reactively. Together, the four immeasurables form a comprehensive framework for cultivating wholesome states of mind and relating to yourself and others with kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. These qualities are considered essential for the development of wisdom and awakening in the Buddhist path. By incorporating these qualities into our daily lives, we can cultivate greater well-being, resilience, and connection with ourselves and others. This concludes the first video. Thank you again for viewing this video and participating in my research. I hope you've gained an understanding of suffering from both the Western and Buddhist points of view. I'd very much appreciate it if you could complete the anonymous survey with your feedback about this video. In the second video of this series, we'll explore the details of mindfulness and how you can employ mindfulness meditation in your daily life. You'll find the link to the second video at the end of the survey. You can go to it directly, or you may wish to copy the link so you can view the second video at a time that's more convenient for you. Once again, thank you very much for participating in this research. I so much appreciate it.